365 days, but I treat every day like it's my last. I'm only concerned with building on the future, cause I can't change my past. Positive vibes for positive lives. She just giving you that truth and shifting your mind. It's more mental than you realize. It's up to you to take control, cause this world is cold and negativity gon' take its toll. Now we've been told any day could be your last. I'm embracing every moment and I cherish every laugh, every smile, every hug, every kiss, every touch, every person in my life that I care about and love. But wait, maybe I'm getting too emotional. That's exactly what they say you ain't supposed to do. Suppress your feelings, never talk about your pain. Can't appreciate the sun without acknowledging it rains, right? That's right. So this a moment of clarity, and make sure you always protect your energy. You stay focused and your life gon' be lit. And you are now rocking with Celeste the Therapist. Let's go.
Hey, hi, beautiful people. So if people are watching me on the replay, thank you for watching me. My name is Celeste. I'm a therapist from Boston. I come on this podcast because I like to talk to amazing people who are doing things to empower the lives of others. And the goal behind this is to just help you shift the way that you think. So we are on episode 316, which is crazy. And so once a month, I get to talk to Jeff Gray, who I'm going to have him introduce himself to you all about relationships. So let me just add him onto the stream. Hi, Jeff Gray.
What's going on?
How are you?
Episode 316 is nuts.
Is it? It's really nuts. I know. I'm really I'm impressed with myself.
It could be. That's a lot of people helped.
Yeah. So, I always like to treat every episode like it's the first time user, first time listener. So can you introduce yourself to people that may not know who you are?
Sure. I'm Jeff. I'm an executive coach, facilitator, who specializes in the solution-focused method and radical candor. What all that has in common is I like to help people kind of figure out their thought process and sort through their problems. So when Celeste said, Jeff, let's do this show, I said, tell me when and where to be. And then Celeste is always there within 10 minutes of the right time.
Thank you. I appreciate you. We talked about solution focus. Can you tell people what radical candor is? I don't think this is your first time hearing you say it.
Right. Radical candor is the idea that we should be compassionate but direct. Right? People struggle with that in the world. Oftentimes you hear somebody say, well, I'm brutally honest. But for some reason, the emphasis is oftentimes on the brutality, right? They just tell people, listen, you're ugly and you stink. And you know that that's both cruel and doesn't get good results. Then there's other people that won't tell you the truth, right? They default to ruinous empathy. They're so nice that they can't tell you the truth. Listen, that you wanted me to read your manuscript, but it's not good. There's a lot of typos and it's not good. They can't bring themselves to tell you that. They just always tell you, no, it's really good. Wow. Right. And so instead we want to be in the quadrant called, we want to be radically candid. I want to tell Celeste the truth, but in a way that accepts that she's a human being with feelings. So I say, Celeste, I read your manuscript and I saw some strengths in it. At the same time, I saw enough errors in it that I wonder if it doesn't need some editing.
I wonder if we were this way, would we be more likely to take more responsibility than we typically do here in America? I wonder.
Right. Well, you want to, oftentimes, it takes a certain amount of trust to give candid feedback. And it also takes trust to receive it. Because if you tell me my manuscript's not good, what if she's always been a hater. She's jealous because she said she's going to write a book, but I wrote a book. So I'm not messing with her no more. Right? Because I don't trust you, in fact, to trust that your intentions are pure. So you have to develop trust to where you can say, hey, listen, here's the situation. I know it's not what you wanted to hear, but I do see strengths, but it's not perfect. And don't you want me to tell you the truth? Would you want me to tell you it's perfect and it's not?
No, I would want you to tell me. I would personally want you to tell me the truth.
Right. And so that's what we try to cultivate in our circle. And so that's why, we do this show. Part of what we're doing here, people write in, they trust us to tell them the truth. And
I know.
The truth isn't as easy as leave him, girl. You're right and he's wrong. Very rarely is it someone else is all the way wrong and you're all the way right. That's very uncommon.
Yeah. And I think sometimes when people are close to that situation, emotions get involved, and, it's hard to separate the emotion from the logic, which is why we're here. So I have a few questions. I'm going to spit them out. Let me just start with this one. All right. So somebody is trying to figure out. So just for people that may be new here, we get questions from you all. So you can, there's a place on the website you can add it, or people email me questions, and we answer them. And so we don't know who these people are. And every time, Jeff never gets a hold of the questions before I do, but every time I read the questions, they're very common questions that people struggle with. So I'm really grateful that, people trust me to kind of write in and ask these questions. This is a really common one that I feel like we talked about a few times. For people listening, how do I get out the friend zone, Jeff?
Right. So we're going to say, so this question tends to be pretty gendered, meaning it's got to be something like 95% of people ask this question would be men, right?
Okay.
So, we're going to approach it. The gender kind of matters for this one, I think. Okay. But so let's take it out. So
in 2021, we're saying gender matters.
So I think this dilemma is far more common. We don't know this individual, right? I'd love to hear that this right is a woman, but what it tends to be is that the men get trapped in the friend zone of putting up bunny ears, and women get trapped in friends with benefits zone.
Same thing. It would change. Okay, so we're adding the benefits. Okay, that's what I'm thinking about.
The man is saying, this girl will go to the movies with me, but then she gives me a handshake at the end. Then
not a hand job.
my. Right. And then when women have a similar issue, what they usually say is, this man will go out to eat and have sex with me, but he doesn't want to be my boyfriend. He's not ready for a relationship.
Right.
So right now, because it says how to get out of my friend zone, I'm going to have to go off what it says. This very short question. We got to go off the idea that this is somebody who's saying this person, I'm cool enough to hang out with, but not cool enough to be romantic with. Right. And so there's a lot of reasons, but what you can really do, right? Assuming you've made some kind of push and you've been rejected, right? If you haven't made a push and haven't been rejected, maybe they're waiting for you to make the first move. Maybe. You wouldn't know you're in the friend zone yet. Maybe you just haven't said, look, let's take it to that next level. Hey, your lips look beautiful. Can I kiss them? And maybe that'll work. But let's assume that you've got enough signals that tells you the person's going, I like you. Hey, bro, you're so great, bro. You're like a brother to me, bro. And another thing is this guy I really like, and all these things that someone says to you to signal to you that you're not in that way. Well, what I usually tell, what I've told like young men before, is I don't know how to get one woman. I only know how to get all the women, which is to be excellent.
Do it again.
I don't know how to get one woman. I don't know how. I don't know what this woman would want out of you. But I know how to get all the women, which is you got to be excellent. So in other words, you work on yourself and be the kind of person that for yourself, not for her, but you be the kind of person that women are looking for. And when you do that, this woman may or may not show interest, but enough women will that you won't be trapped in the friend zone. Do you know what I'm saying? Whether it's for this one or not, I don't know. But, this is not something that Usher in 2004, Usher wasn't in the friend zone. You know what I mean? And, today, Idris Elba is not in the friend zone. This is not because every single woman wants them, but so many women do that they're not trapped anywhere. They have options. The friend zone is a place you live when you don't have options, right? So you got to level up. And when you level up, what happens is either they notice or other people notice, and then they notice other people noticing. So that's your best chance. So I don't know, but what's important is not to focus on them, but to focus on yourself. What do you think of that, Celeste?
I love it because they're not sitting around waiting for this one person. And the part about once you level up, then then that's when they want you. That's like weird, but it's so true. It's like all of a sudden I'm hot because I'm with somebody. And so I think that in order for that to happen, you got to know your value. And so like, we only have one life, and pay attention to people's actions, and people can only treat you how you allow them to treat you. I can't say that enough. And I think the more we put ourselves in the driver's seat where we are the solution. Me waiting for somebody else is not my solution. It can't be my solution. The way my mind's wrapped right now, I can't think that way. My mind's warped in a different, more solution-based way. So try to think of it. It's like, what can I do? I think that's the goal.
Right. Well, and the thing is, so, there's such a thing, whatever we want to say, there's such a thing as leagues, meaning when you hear someone say, oh, they're out of my league, right? Mm-hmm. There is such a thing, meaning you would be very surprised to see Rihanna out on a date with a guy. He weighs 400
with Jeff.
Well, I mean, listen, do I want to say I'm in Rihanna's league? I mean, she's 10 years younger, $100 million richer, and on the cover of magazines. So I'll shoot my best shot, but we got to be honest. Honest. She's someone who's like dating Saudi princes, right? So there's such thing as leagues. And so if you're interacting with somebody and either you think they're out of your league or they think you're out of their league, either way, they're out of your league. So you got to be your best self so that you feel like you're in their league, right? So if I really wanted to holler at Rihanna, I wouldn't just say, well, maybe she'll just like me because I'm nice. Rather, I got to like be the Rihanna of my own stuff. Do you know what I mean? Be the Rihanna of me and Celeste podcast. Be the Rihanna of whatever I do. Because A, that literally is something that's valuable in the world. And B, it gives you confidence. After the day after you had a big game, you play on a softball league. And the softball doesn't really matter, but you hit 2 home runs. Well, guess what? For the rest of that day, you're feeling pretty good. That'd be, and if Rihanna was at that game, well, she didn't hit any home runs. Do you see what I'm saying? So you have to be the kind of person that can exude the kind of confidence that can get attention. The minute somebody's out of your league, or they make you feel like you're in the friend zone, so then you're feeling insecure around them, because basically saying you're in the friend zone, saying we'd be dating except for you won't have me. So that's not a power position. That's a position of like weakness. So put yourself in a position where you go, well, that's not it. I hear you. That's cool. But I got 5 of you on deck, meaning like I got options. Other people who I think are as good as you are looking at me. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's where you got to get mentally. It's called an abundance mindset instead of a scarcity mindset. The mindset that either I get you or I'm alone forever, or either I get you or I'll never be happy. Right? When you go to buy a car, the car salesman wants to sell it for as much as possible, and you want to buy it for as little as possible. Mm-hmm. But if you go, well, if you sell out to the car salesman, but if I don't buy this car, maybe I'll never have a car. Does that make him lower the price? Right. No, you got to act like, yo, there's a Honda Civic at every car dealership in this state.
That's so
true. I do want this one, but I will go get another one. It's cool. Yeah. You don't have to sell it to me.
Remind yourself you got options and stuff up your swag, baby. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me just put this in there. Hey, Miss P Love. I'm going to just put her question because she always comes to the show. So let me just put your question in here. So this question is from somebody listening right now. How do you get rid of an ex who won't leave you alone? Showing up at the house unannounced. This is complicated. I'll let you go.
Yeah. Well, there's levels to this. So let me say at a certain level, it becomes a legal issue. So let me not just pretend that there's magic words, because there are people that could become obsessed, mentally unhinged. It can be dangerous. So I want to be clear that if you've done everything that we're going to say, then it can be like restraining order time. That's a thing, because, people get violent, and I don't want to pretend like that doesn't happen. But let's assume that it's more like, why won't they take the hint? Well, when people don't get a hint, you got to turn it up, right? You got to be explicit. You got to go from being subtle to being explicit. So saying something like, Daryl, first of all, maybe not face-to-face, maybe, over text, something like that. Like, Daryl, I want you to know that you can't come over my house. You can't visit me. It's over and nothing's going to change it. This is not a movie. You're not going to hold up a boombox outside and I change my mind. I still have respect for you, but if you keep doing that, if you keep doing this, I'll lose even that. Please respect my wishes and don't come over anymore. Not unannounced and not announced, because if you ask to come over, I'm going to say no. Like basically where someone can't misinterpret it. But let me just be clear again. There are people in this world, particularly when people get fixated, obsessed, where they go, see, this is just what she wants me. She's saying that so that I can overcome that and prove my love. Like that's like a thing people do. So if you do all that and they don't listen, it could be time to escalate.
I appreciate that part. So that's one extreme that Jeff is alluding to, where, it could become mentally unstable for that person to be around you. And I also want to talk about the other spectrum where sometimes when people are out of relationships, they are still utilizing some of the benefits that they had from the relationship without the status of the relationship. So you also would have, you did all that. Okay. You also would have to be willing to let that go. Sometimes it's they're a good listener, or whatever it is. There's some benefits that may keep that person around. So really being clear to the point where you saying like you can't come over, not like, oh, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it doesn't feel really clear. And I know that sometimes that can be challenging, especially when you've been in a relationship with somebody and you've shared a lot, to like cut them off completely. But it seems like with you saying that you did all that, it seems like that might be the best option, is to just be very assertive and not allow them over.
Right. So Celeste, just that's a brilliant thing that you said, that what some people do is they break up, but they say, well, you're still going to help me move next month, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, if you really want to have clear boundaries, because people think, well, that's my foot back in. And to be honest, people think that because that happens. I help you move, then at the end of it, we have like weird, already broken up sex,
right,
or whatever it is. So instead, you make it clear, like, nope, I'm gonna start paying my own phone bill. Nope,
right.
I'm gonna, whatever the thing is, I'm gonna just do it. Whatever I got to be cut off. Oh, come and pick up your stuff. No, thank you. Throw it away.
Yeah.
Right, like where you're just going like, for real, this is over. But that being said, if you did all that, it really is true that just like, a man, if a stranger just started ringing your doorbell all hours of the night, right? Yeah. Like if they won't listen to you, the very next step is the legal one.
Yeah.
Right. Where you say, hey, this is becoming harassment. I don't feel safe, so forth, so on. Because really, like, I got a doorbell. Celeste, you got a doorbell. Why don't people just ring your doorbell at 1 a.m. all the time? They could. Right. There's not a lock. They could do that. It's just we live in a society and people don't do that. If someone suddenly started doing it, you'd have to, and you knew who it was, you just have to make basically a case out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to be clear, like, because this is something that people go through. It's challenging to end something completely. It's not just sex that keeps people together. Sex is a big part of how people still utilize some of the benefits, but there's so many other factors. I hear a lot is, well, who would I talk to? I always talk to that person. So just making sure that even if that person is willing to listen, if you really are trying to get rid of the situation, make sure that you're not talking to them and you're figuring out how to deal with those problems that come up outside of that person.
Right. If you're struggling, whether you got to block them or whatever it is, again, I continue to stress that there is a time when there's nothing you can do. Yeah. But you should do all this stuff. When I say there's nothing you can do without getting the authorities involved, that does happen. But before that, you want to, like, if you can't resist but reply, block them. Because some people, they'll take any reply, even if they say, well, that's why your mother's a bitch, and then you hit back, well, that's why your mother. But now we're back talking. So then I prefer that to silence.
Yes.
Or if someone just, I'm pregnant, like, we actually haven't had sex in 2 months. I'm pregnant with yours. And like, you feel like, damn, I got to answer this, but block, do whatever you got to do. Like, truly let someone talk to the brick wall. And then if you still feel unsafe and they persist or escalate, the authorities is really all that there is. There's no trick. There's no psychological trick to like say this one cool sentence and they always go away. That doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's good. All right. So next question. My partner and I are stuck in a monotonous rhythm. How can I bring this up to him? He can be sensitive and I'm having a hard time with saying something to him.
What a good opportunity for solution focus. You want me to go? All right, here goes an opportunity for a solution focus. Right? So right now we're looking at the problem. My partner, you think there's a problem. My partner's stuck in a monotonous rhythm. I don't know if this is sexual, right? They always do 3.2 minutes of foreplay and then one position, two position, and then say the same talk. Because sometimes people say that. Or if you just mean literally we only eat at the same restaurant, like literally you want to go out to eat, that automatically means we're going to Denny's. And it's like we're stuck. But either way, it's actually the same issue here. You're focused on the monotony. But here's the secret. Your partner's sensitive. You don't have to mention the monotony. You don't have to judge the current situation. All you have to do is express a preference for your preferred solution. So in other words, you don't have to say, what you did today sucks. All you have to do is say, Derek, what I would love is if could we go here? Would you like to do this? Have you ever tried this? Could we try it? My dream, when I think about trying this from you, it just makes me feel so good. It just turns me on. It just, whatever it is, where you just point at what you want and say, let's go there. And you don't have to judge the current thing at all. And that way his sensitivity is not triggered. Instead, his curiosity is triggered instead, where he goes, And I say, well, every year, every summer when we go on vacation, we go to the Cape. But what if instead we just went to Niagara Falls? But you don't even say we always go to the Cape. You just say, you know what I want to do with you more than anything this summer? Go to Niagara Falls. And try to bust it out like that. Just focus on the solution. What do you think, Celeste?
So I love that, right? And I love the fact that you're putting the power in that person's hand. I'm going to tell you a thing that comes up when I give these suggestions to people so you can help people understand. They will say, I shouldn't have to suggest something. They should know. Can you tell the people why that is problematic in the way that they're thinking about that situation?
Right. Because Sylvia Brown is not real. Psychics are not real. Right. They don't know. I know part of your dream is that I found somebody who knows me better than I know myself. And when I reach out, they just hand me a drink. Even before I knew I was thirsty, they just put it in my hand. It's not life. In real life, you know your issues, not other people. And so you have to express it. I know in the movies, they oftentimes make it where people are so in sync that this person just, oh my God, they're magic. It's like they're created for me. Well, they were written. They're not real. And so you have to express what you want. In this case, you want, the opposite of monotony. You want some variety, right? And I understand that. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with like a monotony either. But in this case, it's not working for you. So that's what's wrong with it. But it's not that you just don't want monotony, because another thing you could do is say, okay, then we won't do nothing. But you don't really want that. So it's not, the problem isn't that you don't have monotony. Sorry, the problem isn't that you do have monotony. The thing is, you just want to do something different. So you don't even have to express what's negative, right? So that sidesteps the argument issue. But you got to get over, anyone who would say that, got to get over the idea that if this person really loved me or if they really knew me, they would magically meet all my needs. Trust me, you're not magically meeting all his needs either. Either he tells you or you have some misses. But the one thing you don't do is you're perfect in every way, and you always have been. And the only person with any complaints in the relationship is you about him. I guarantee you that's false.
Yeah, I like that. And I want to say, and this is not necessarily to you, writer, I'll say that you may feel like they should know all of my needs, but I promise you, you may not even recognize all of your needs. The fact that you may be, not you particular, but I think when people put a lot of pressure on their partner to fulfill a need, a lot of times they don't really know what's happening within them. So you think it's about the fact that they didn't hand you that cup, but it's something deeper that you probably have to challenge.
Right. It represents, right? When you didn't hand me that cup, that reminds me, my dad never did nothing for my mother, and I always resented him because it looked like she catered to him, but he didn't cater to her. So when you didn't hand me that cup, it felt like you were being like my dad was to my mom.
Right.
When it's like, well, actually, I just didn't know you was thirsty, dog. Because I'm me, I'm not you, so I don't know when you're thirsty. I know when I'm thirsty.
But Ryder, I'll say like kudos to you for recognizing like your partner's needs and the sensitivity that they may have. I think that's super dope. Like, you know, I try to lead from a strength space and meet people where they are. And I just think that that's something that a lot of people in relationships don't care about. So the fact that you're really trying to dissect and have a greater understanding on how to relate and communicate with your partner, I think is super amazing. So I think, you know, that's good.
So a rare prescription. I don't always want to be prescriptive on here, but he goes like literally 2 sentences you could say. You could literally say to him, you can go just out of nowhere, not when you're talking, not when you're having a fight. Just literally, you're just sitting there. You know, when you're sitting, each person's in, you're touching each other on the couch, but you're just each looking at your phone. And then you say, you know what I want more than anything? I want to do something sexually that we've never done before, right now or tonight. Or, you know what I want more than anything? I want us to go somewhere we've never been before. This year, 2021. Just those things and see what comes of it. Instead of just expecting him to magically know this has grown monotonous. Because everyone has their own monotony. We all know somebody who can like eat the same meal. They can just eat the same dinner. Right? And then other people say, I can't have tacos. I had that last week. Even though your dog expected to eat the same dog food every night of his life. But you can't have the same meal 2 weeks in a row, right? People have it's called novelty seeking. People have a different degree of novelty seeking. So you might not match in that way, but you just got to, announce, give me something new. Let's do something new without ever judging their lack of novelty seeking.
I like that. That's dope. All right, let's go. We got a couple more questions. So this person wants to know, why does sex make me feel blind? I lose my shit and it gets why? Sorry, let me say it again because I gotta look out for my audio listeners. Hold on. Why does sex make me feel blind? I lose my shit and it gets too complicated. Obviously, this is super broad.
Never. Feel blind. Well, first of all, if somebody's fucking you blind, send me their number because I want in. I don't care if it's a woman or a man. If they make you blind, I need to know more about it. No. Right. I lose my shit and it gets too complicated. This is a little vague, so all we can do is infer what this means. Celeste, I'm going to tell you what I think this means. You tell me if you think I'm right. All right. So they're not actually saying that they become Stevie Wonder when they feel penetration. That's not actually what they're saying. We don't
know.
We don't know. They might actually
we don't know if it's a guy or girl, so let's like not say.
Well, and a guy can also feel penetration.
That's true. You're right. Okay, go ahead.
I already said I'm fucking him if he makes me blind. But so when we, why does sex make you feel blind? I lose my shit. It gets too complicated. I think this means that when I have sex with somebody, after I've had sex with somebody, my emotions around them become so strong that I no longer behave rationally and oftentimes sabotage the relationship. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I 100% got that.
Okay. So to answer that question, that is something that's too broad to work through without being able to interrogate and know a little bit more. But there's a good thing, which is that if you know this about yourself, that's the first step, right? You recognize that entering a sexual relationship with somebody causes you to be blind, which oftentimes people say that the second sentence doesn't match the first to me in this exact way. But oftentimes when someone says sex makes you blind, we've heard the idea of like pussy whipped or dickmatized, right? The idea that we have sex and after that, I no longer, I lose my dignity. I start doing things I wouldn't do or settling for things I wouldn't settle for. Or suddenly they say they don't call me for 10 days, but then when they call me, I'm so thirsty to feel them again that I don't hold them accountable. That's oftentimes what you hear about blindness. The fact that they say things like, that's not my wife, that's just that's my cousin, but we just wear matching wedding rings because it's a family trait. And you'd be like, oh, that makes sense. Even though that doesn't make sense, but you're just blinded by sex. Then I lose my shit and it gets too complicated. It sounds to me more like after that, they don't call me. I call them. I text them. They don't text me back within 20 minutes. And I text them an essay about why I knew they were going to do this and they're a piece of shit. Right? And both of those things can be true because you just get too wrapped up in somebody, right? Knowing this about oneself, I guess what you could do is you could, I think it sounds important, until you get this worked out, it sounds important to be very selective. Don't you think, Celeste? In other words, this doesn't sound like a person for whom casual sex is a good idea. When I say casual, I mean first date sex, second date sex. If you know this is going to happen, perhaps you should be more selective, knowing yourself in that way. In the same way that an alcoholic doesn't casually drink, even though other people can. It's not a moral judgment, but the alcoholic knows that this will knock me off my game, right? So maybe be a little more selective. And I guess you got to work through, and this sounds like a job for therapy where you work through, why does this happen? Where is this coming from? Right? Do I, what is it about me and myself that I enjoy sex and yet it disrupts my relationships every time?
And I would, when I talk to people about food and stuff, and just kind of thinking about the relationship we have to food, start thinking about the relationship you have to sex. If I said every time like I walk past the bed, like I hit my toe, I'm gonna I'm gonna pay attention to the way I walk past the bed. I'm not probably gonna walk in that direction. I'm gonna pay attention because it's so painful. Sex can feel good, but it seems like it comes with a lot of nuances that you're not aware of. You're making maybe emotional, impulsive decisions based off of maybe something in the past, right? So it's not that sex makes you feel blind. Anytime, for my listeners, that when you find yourself saying like somebody makes me do this or makes me do that, that doesn't happen. It's just, unfortunately, that's what tends to happen when you do it. So you have to figure out, how do I break this up? And does that may mean not having sex, like Jeff said, on the first date or second date, or really thinking. And, I think that when it comes to relationships and sex, really understanding what do you want from that situation or relationship, right? Maybe it's that you're not getting what you need. You really want a monogamous relationship, and then you're settling. There's so many nuances. And I think that we tend to jump into relationships without being really clear on what we want, which is why we tend to settle. And then you feel like sex is a thing that's going to keep it together when there's so many people to have sex with. Sex is not going to keep a relationship together. Then you may find yourself doing it just because you're hoping that would keep that person around, when that's not the case. So really thinking about your relationship to sex. What does that mean? What does it look like for you? And being okay with not having it. There are other ways to let it loose.
There are certainly other ways to
without involving somebody else, especially if you're getting blind, baby.
Right. Certainly there's self-gratification. There's intimacy that doesn't go all the way to sex, right? What we're talking about in terms of you can date somebody and say, well, listen, sex to me is a big step. I'm not saying that they'll go for it. You're right. It's true that they might be like, well, sex to me is a requirement from date 2. Someone could say that. But you got to figure out about yourself. The bottom line is, whatever it is, you got to figure out about yourself. You recognize a pattern. You don't seem to you haven't expressed in this question a lot of insight into what the pattern comes from, but it's an amazing insight to know that you have this pattern.
Yeah, that's so
Someone
good.
else has this problem and they don't even know it.
Yeah, I think that's so good.
You've already done a lot, and what you got to do is do the kind of long work of interrogating it and getting to the point where once you have kind of an idea what the problem is, solution focus would say you try different stuff and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right. Whatever, but the different stuff doesn't have to be don't have sex. It could be stuff like, I have a rule where once I've had sex with somebody, I make a rule in my head. I'm only going to text them 3 times a day. I'm just making up anything. But if usually you start blowing them up, You make a rule in your head. I'm going to only text him 3 times a day. Or you're going to see, does that solve it? Does that solve it? Does that solve it? Kind of like when you walk into a house that you've never been in before and there's a bunch of switches on the wall and you flip them one by one to see which one turns on the light. And then which one you find out one of them, oh, that turned on the garbage disposal. You know what I mean? So you just try the things to figure it out. In the same way, you got to try something different. One thing you apparently know, as it stands, when you have sex, you feel blind, lose your shit, and it gets complicated.
Mm-hmm.
So some change could give you some insight.
Yeah. So, yeah, I love that. So, yes, listener or whoever wrote in, it's super dope that you understand yourself. But right now, it's like the investigation phase. Get you a feelings chart. Start paying attention to what you're feeling, where you feel it in your body. And so, because I know that we threw out therapy, but I know therapy is not always accessible to people. So, try to work through that by paying attention to your behavior. All right, my last question. This feels a little complicated, but we're going to put it on there.
The question is, how come every time I have sex with someone, they go blind and then it gets complicated?
Wait.
Right. Now, go ahead.
All right. So, all right. As there's no right or wrong answer to this, I'm just going to read it, and Jeff is going to say it. What is too long to stay on the sideline? I am dating someone. We are exclusive, but he has made it clear he is not ready for a relationship. I have been in this situation for 16 months.
All right. Question number 1. What the hell is the difference between being exclusive and being in a relationship?
You don't hear, I hear it. I don't know. I'm just going.
I don't have a single idea as what would be, how can you be exclusive but not in a relationship?
It
I
happens.
actually don't know. No, I don't know what it means. Tell me, how would I know? How would I know that I'm exclusive but not in a relationship?
Meaning we're not sleeping with nobody else.
Got it.
I mean, so we're not sleeping with nobody else.
But we are sleeping with each other. Is that right?
We're sleeping with each other, but we're not sleeping with nobody else.
But we're not in a relationship. Why?
I don't know, because they're not ready for a relationship.
Right. I don't know what that means. So sometimes this is like, you ever see a dude who's not ready to admit he's going bald?
Yeah.
Right? So I remember I had the same barber. Damn, this is years ago, and he probably ain't listening, but I have the same barber as my cousin. So when it showed up, now my cousin, he's a great athlete, he's a great father, he's a great man. Okay, but he started going bald pretty young. So the barber, he looks at me, he goes, "You want me to line you up?" My cousin's in the chair. He goes, "You want me to line you up?" My cousin's like, "Yeah." And then my barber looks at me and kind of makes big eyes, and then he just goes right across his forehead, just where there's no hair at all. And he goes like that. He goes, "Yep." My cousin is making the barber line up his bald forehead. That really happened. And then he just looks at me like, "Your cousin's nuts, dog." And I'm like, "Yeah." Because he wasn't ready to acknowledge the truth. He's going bald. So sometimes when I hear that we're exclusive but not in a relationship, I wonder if that's not somebody that's saying, "I'm not bald, I just don't have any hair there anymore." Right? In which case, I don't know what is it, writer, I don't know what you want to change. But I guess if you just want like a title, meaning we don't have sex with no one else, but you're not we're not boyfriend and girlfriend. It says he, right? But it could also be a man, but let's say it's a woman right now. So you say, well, he says I'm not his girlfriend, but we're only having sex with each other. Well, the two most likely things to me are either the scenario I just listed. I'm not bald. I just don't have any hair. You're not my girlfriend. We just only have sex with each other and go out to eat and stuff. And you've met my family. Or the other thing, which I must acknowledge, is sometimes people pull the same stunt in the other direction. And they say, well, you're not really we don't have titles because actually you're exclusive, but I'm not. I must admit that is something that occurs. Right? So in other words, the reason why we don't have a title is because when I leave from here, I have sex with other people. But I know you don't want to hear that. So those to me seem likely, but those to me are the most likely reasons for this distinction without a difference is what this is. Because if anyone can write in or anything and tell me how you could be exclusive but not in a relationship, I want to hear it. Because I don't think there's anything except for a title. Like literally, do you know what I mean? Like,
no, I hear you. I think I feel like a title feels like it leads to more for people. I think that's why people would prefer a title.
So a girlfriend means that in an undisclosed amount of time, you're going to be my fiance.
Yeah.
But if we're just exclusive, that's not a promise for that. That's the idea. Because that sounds, you know how I'm always talking about implicit versus explicit contract?
Yeah.
That's the most implicit explanation I've ever heard. So real quick, an implicit contract is where we have expectations from each other that we don't say them out loud. We just kind of get, like a classic one. If I buy you steak and shrimp, you know what's going down after that, right? If we go on a date and I buy you the fancy wine, then that means you're putting out. I'm not saying I believe that. I'm saying that's like an implicit contract people try to enter other people into, right? And then an explicit contract would be like the only things we've agreed to are the things we've agreed to out loud, which is actually, no matter what you think about implicit contracts, the explicit one is the truth. Meaning, you think if you're this person's girlfriend that you're going to be married, like, well, then girlfriend leads to marriage in 18 months. Well, if they didn't say that, then that's not true, right? If they didn't say we're exclusive, then that's not true. If they didn't say that we're going to go out to dinner, you might settle into a thing where, well, every Saturday we go out. And then one Saturday they don't call you. And you say, well, what the hell, we go out every Saturday? And then they could just look at you and be like, what are you talking about? Because we didn't say that. When did I say I was going to take you out every Saturday? Right? And then what can you say? But we always do. You sound silly. And so explicit contracts are the way to go. Communicate. I like this. I want this. Do you agree to this? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? That's the way to go. So anything that you want, regardless of this title, I got stuck on exclusive versus relationship, but that's not really important. That wasn't a solution-focused rant for me to go on. The truth of the matter is, what matters is your explicit contracts. So you say, I want this. Do you want this? I'm not ready for a relationship. Okay, well, is it that do you expect this to change in the near future, or what? Is there something you're waiting for? There probably won't be. It's just, I like us here. I like us at this level. You want to be here? I want to be here. And then you, writer, have to decide where you like to be. Do you like this person so much that you want to compromise what level you want to be at? Or is it more important to you to make some kind of progression in your mind, where now I'm girlfriend, even though what's different from exclusive, Jeff doesn't know, but I have it and it's important to me. You got to make that decision. So just waiting around with the expectation that they will eventually see things your way, you're trying to implicit them into something. And meanwhile, giving them everything they want from what we can tell, and it's not going to work. What do you think, Celeste?
Yeah, I think because I hear this term so much, it's normalized for me. So it threw me off to hear you exclusive, but not in a relationship. I hear people say it a lot. So it kind of like became a normal thing. But I'm always challenging people when they say that. Like, what does that look like?
You understand? I'm not mocking it. I am.
No, I hear
actually don't know the difference.
Yeah.
I actually don't know.
So, and I think, on the other, I want to answer your question, writer, but I think some people may have been burnt by relationships, feel that when a title is put on, then there's all these expectations, which is to Jeff's point about the communication piece. And so maybe there's some PTSD around relationships and this idea of a title, or the other extreme, which is also logical, is, it's just that I want to be able to like sleep around and not tell you, which is not cool. So, I think that part is an important caveat to this idea of someone saying they don't want the title, is that they don't want the headache that it may come with, because you may lose your shit when I say you my girlfriend.
Celeste, that I actually like. So here's the thing. So let's unpack this a little bit. So it says, assuming that this is a direct quote, he is not ready for a relationship. So when you say you're not ready, like if I say, you ready, Celeste? You say, I'm not ready. That means you're on, that you will be ready. Like you're working towards the thing I want you to work towards.
Yeah.
Right? If I went upstairs and you were just in bed, if I say, Celeste, you ready to go? And then I go upstairs, you say, I'm not ready. I wait 15 minutes and I go upstairs, you're just in bed. Right? And then I say, I thought you were getting ready, right? It implies that there's some motion, but you're just not at a preset point.
Right.
So this person, if they say I'm not ready for a relationship, they're implying that a relationship is on its way, right? Which is different from I don't believe in relationships. I don't believe in titles. I'm not the relationship type. Which would be, if that's the case, then that would be the case. But if they just don't believe in titles for whatever reason, then it's actually not true that they're not ready. It's that they're not interested. Right? I've decided not to do that. Right? Jeff, I'm not just not ready to bungee jump. I'm not interested in bungee jumping.
For real.
I'm not getting ready to do that. It's not going to happen. Right? And so I would communicating and being explicit could make that clear too. Like, what would make you ready? Because and you say, look, this is not really pressure. This is what I want. I want to be with somebody that we either are doing this or on our way to this.
Right.
Are we doing it or are we on our way? If it's neither of those, then this might not work for me. But I'm not pressuring you because we both have to be happy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I recommend. Not hardcore pressure, but rather just the explicit statement that, like, look, for example, if somebody said to me from now on, Jeff, I'm willing to have sex with you, but we never can ride in the same car. I just don't like that. So everywhere we go, you got to take an Uber. I'll be like, well, I hear you, but that doesn't work for me. So I don't agree. Do you see what I'm saying? But I'm not saying that's wrong. I can't imagine why someone would do that, but I'm not saying it's wrong. There's nothing immoral about it, but we have to find an arrangement that works for both of us. Do you want Chinese for dinner? No, I don't like Chinese. You want Thai? No, I don't like Thai. You want Mexican? Yes, we both want Mexican. It has to be like that. You can't. So the fact of the matter is, the way to settle this is communication. And I would say you either have to have the willingness to walk away or the willingness to know what you're willing to compromise about your desires. But the thing that doesn't work, and you use the word sidelines, which tells me that you feel like as long as you're not in a relationship, by y'all's bizarre definition, then as long as you're not in a relationship, then you're not in the game. Right? The game is a relationship, and anything less is the sideline somehow. If that's what you believe, and then you might have to be like, all right, well, I'm going to have to restart. This has been good. I would like a relationship with you, but I would also I prefer a relationship to you, if that makes sense. I'd rather try again than live in limbo with you.
Yeah. And, it's important to really understand what a relationship entails. I think a lot of people may want companionship or want somebody to be with or want to be able to say they're in a relationship, but relationship actually requires work. And so I guess, we never answer your question, what is too long to stay on the sidelines? It depends on what it is that you want. Some people are content with just dating and just seeing where it goes. Clearly, you're not in that place. So you have to ask yourself, like, what works for you? What is it that I want? And asking the hard questions, not being afraid that it may turn that person off. You're clearly turned off. So why would you, a lot of times people struggle with like being very clear and direct. But if you're clear on what you want, it's important to actually communicate that. And there's no, I don't think there's a timeline with the idea of like, what's too long to stay. It really depends on where you are and what you want, and making sure you're not settling just because, just for the sake of longevity. I think a lot of people put in 16 months and feel like they invested in that relationship, so they don't want to not see a return.
Right. Right. That's called the sunk cost fallacy. Right.
Yeah.
The sunk cost. The idea, I can't quit now. I've put so much into this.
Yeah.
Right. So rather than, all that time is gone. 16 months done past. Whether this turns into something or not, you'll never get those 16 months back. By the way, you started dating right at the beginning of the pandemic, huh? But they said meet COVID and meet Tyrone on the same day. But the thing is, you have to. That time is gone. No, nothing that can happen with this person will bring that time back. All you have is today forward. So from today forward, I say, look, do you want to be with this person? But you're not, you're on the sidelines according to you, or do you want to change your view of what the sidelines is?
Yeah.
These are basically your choices.
Yeah.
I guess exclusive, but not relationship could mean we don't have sex with anyone else, but we see each other less. I'm still trying to solve it. We see each other less commonly. Like we don't live together or we don't dine together every night, but we promise not to have sex with anyone else. By the way, when I hear that, I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical of that arrangement in terms of everyone's fidelity.
I know. I think the title just turns a lot of men off, mostly, because of those implicit contracts.
You ain't got it. I agree, but then you got to talk it out. But build your own custom contract, but build it out. And this is still, if you have to ask us this question, it's still implicit, and you're not getting your title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you should know the answer to every question. Like, why am I not ready? Am I not ready for a relationship, or do I not want one? What expectations do we have about ourselves right now in our progression? Is there any progression? Do I just want to be like this does this person want to be like this forever? Meaning we have sex and go on dates, but don't live together or whatever it is, or do they expect things to change? Like you map out the whole like an itinerary. Well, that's not right, because that sounds like what you will do. This is more like hopes. Like ideally, where would we be in a year? Ideally, what will we do for each other? And if that's too much to talk about, well, it sounds like too much to be in a relationship with too.
Yeah, I know. Hey, Jeff's right. He's right. Your radical candor is needed.
Radical candor. This is you. No one needs to be, of all the question writers tonight, no one needs to be more radically candid than this person.
Yeah.
Where they say, I like you, but I don't like our situation, or at least I need it clarified. Maybe I'll like it more once it's clarified. Let's clarify it starting now.
And technically, it's not. Would you say that would be an investment when people say, I've invested this much time?
Did anyone promise you that at the end of 16 months you'd get XYZ? I bet you they didn't. So that was a long implicit contract, right? You saw somebody, you saw construction on the side of the road, you picked up a shovel and started joining in, and then you made a bet. I bet you if I work on this, they'll pay me. But if no one said they was going to pay you, then you wasn't hired, was you? So you just shoveling for no reason, and you got no one to blame but yourself.
Yep. So that was good. I want to end it with this question on a good note of at least you understand what you're not happy about. Mm-hmm. And Ryder, you understand. That's what you understand is that that you're not happy about the situation. So really think about what you want.
You seem to have a clear idea of what you want. Jeff has no idea what you want. It's not clear to me at all. But you seem to have a good idea of what it is you want. That in solution focus, the first thing we look for is where would you be ideally, right? What is the thing that you want? And then all your decisions flow from there, because you can just, with every question, you can go, does that get me closer to where I want to be or no? If you want marriage, I guess a title is on its way. If you want just to be happy, a title may or may not be important. You see the difference? So there you go.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Oh my! You always crack me up. I feel like I develop abs on this show. For people listening, tell people like if they want to work with you, how could they reach out to you, and like who do you work with?
Well, a big part of coaching and facilitation, whether I'm working with an individual leader, whether I'm working with an organization as a whole, like all the staff, it's all the same thing, which is you could reach out at jeff@rogersleads.com. Basically you tell me what you want to work with, and it's all about, or what you want to work on. We identify where you want to be, right? We identify the solution. Then we focus on it. What are we going to do? What are we going to change to kind of get you there? And whether that's a 2,000 person organization or one person, it's the same thing. Just like how do you eat an elephant? Same way you eat a sandwich, one bite at a time.
Thank you. That was good. Anything else you want to tell my listeners before you go?
Listeners, if you know the difference between being exclusive in a relationship, please write in to Celeste the Therapist and answer that question for me, because this has been a revelation to me tonight, and I actually have no idea.
I must be desensitized because I hear a lot, but I don't just let it slide. I do what you do. I do a little different, where I'm just kind of, I meet people where they are. I'm about to be 39, so it's not something I heard of in my early years of dating.
Truly, I can't wait to interrogate people and what does this mean. No, but as always, this is fun. People write in with your questions. I love doing this between getting to hang with Celeste, who's too busy for me otherwise, and between getting into these questions, I love it. So Celeste,
bye. All right. Thank you all so much for listening. Don't forget, this is audio podcast as well, streaming in over 100 countries. And, people are rocking with your girls. So, so many episodes. I just happen to do once a month on relationships because I really wanted to focus on that once a month because it's something that I'm very passionate about. I even created a book called Relationship Goals, A Guide to a Healthy Relationship. I'm passionate about it because I understand that we make it more complicated than it needs to be, but everybody's searching for this relationship. Definitely, you can check out other episodes with Jeff and I. If you go to my website, there's a link where it will lead you to all the episodes. But also, I get to talk to other people who are doing things to empower other people. So if you're struggling on an individual level and really want to work on yourself, definitely check out those amazing episodes. So thank you all so much for listening. Until next time, I'll talk to you later.
Under the 65 days, but I treat every day like it's my last. I'm only concerned with building on the future, cause I can't change my past. Positive vibes for positive lives. She just giving you that truth and shifting your mind. It's more mental than you realize. It's up to you to take control, cause this world is cold and negativity gon' take its toll. Now we've been told any day could be your last. I'm embracing every moment and I cherish every laugh, every smile, every hug, every kiss, every touch, every person in my life that I care about and love. But wait, maybe I'm getting too emotional. That's exactly what they say you ain't supposed to do. Suppress your feelings, never talk about your pain. Can't appreciate the sun without acknowledging it rains, right? That's right. So this a moment of clarity, and make sure you always protect your energy. You stay focused and your life gon' be lit, and you are now rocking